You know, you didn't see it coming, did you? The way he changed so suddenly. One moment he's warm, consistent, making promises, and the next he's cold, distant, and quiet. It hits deep, doesn't it? But here's the truth. Most people won't tell you what breaks you can also be what builds you, if you choose to use it that way. The same thing that made you question your value can become your greatest strength if you learn how to throw him off by doing the one thing he never expected, pulling your energy away. See, men who play games expect reactions. They expect tears, long messages, explanations, pleading, trying to fix things. But what they rarely expect is silence, calm confidence, and emotional distance. That's the strength of doing the opposite. When you stop trying to get him back and instead begin getting yourself back, everything changes. He starts to wonder, what happened? Why isn't she chasing me? And that's where the confusion begins, because now your power is back in your hands. This isn't about revenge, it's about realignment. It's about taking the pain he caused and turning it into your launch pad. When you surprise him by not reacting, you change the entire dynamic. You show him that losing you wasn't just a minor moment, it was a big mistake. So if you're sitting there trying to figure out what to say or do next, don't just sit back and watch, because from this point forward, it's not about proving your value to him, it's about recognizing it for yourself. Once you do, that your actions will speak louder than anything you could ever say. Let's get into it. When someone you care about deeply, especially a man you trusted, hurts you, your mind naturally starts asking, why was it something you said? Something you didn't do? Were you not good enough? These thoughts begin to spin, and you get caught in a trap of self-blame. But take a moment and shift the focus, because more often than not, it's not really about you, it's about what's going on with him. Here's what's really happening. Some men struggle to deal with real emotional closeness. Deep connection makes them uncomfortable, so they pursue it until it feels too real, and then they pull away. This push and pull isn't happening because you're doing too much. It's happening because real intimacy triggers something unresolved in them. Maybe it's past pain, fear of being vulnerable, or even their ego. But the way they respond, distancing, ignoring, ghosting, is not a measure of your worth. It reflects their emotional limitations then there. Are those who hurt you, because it gives them a sense of control. They enjoy getting a reaction from you, your tears, your confusion, your emotional stress. To someone emotionally closed off or manipulative, that reaction becomes fuel. Not always because they're cruel, but because control makes them feel powerful in their world. Love becomes a power game. And when they feel small in their own life, making you feel smaller gives them temporary importance. And then there's the third type, the one who didn't set out to hurt you but did anyway, because he never truly saw you for who you are. He created an image in his head, got swept up in the moment, and when things got real, he disappeared, not out of hate, but out of carelessness. And even careless behavior can leave deep scars. Here's the part that's hard to accept. We often allow ourselves to be hurt because deep down we're afraid of losing even the smallest bit of connection, so we settle. We make excuses, we tell ourselves things like he's just going through something, or maybe he'll come around. But hear this clearly. He continues to hurt you because he knows you'll stay. That's the part that stings. When a man knows he can treat you poorly, and still have you around, the cycle continues. Not always because he's doing it on purpose, but because he's never been made to face the results of his actions. The real solution isn't revenge. It's not about giving him a taste of his own behavior. It's about stepping out of the cycle completely. It's about seeing the moment he hurts you as the moment you get stronger, not the moment you fall apart. Because once you really understand what's going on, you stop blaming yourself, you stop asking what's wrong with me, and instead you ask, why am I giving so much to someone who gives me so little? Here's something powerful to keep in mind. It's easy to hurt someone who loves you if that person doesn't fully see their worth. So the real change starts not with him becoming better, but with you realizing you never had to be broken to be loved. You never had to be unsure to feel connection. True love doesn't leave you questioning. It doesn't vanish when things get tough. It doesn't make you feel like you're not enough. And once you see that clearly, the game is over. The confusion fades and healing begins. You're not weak because you cared. You're not foolish because you loved, but you are powerful when you decide that pain is no longer part of your love story, no matter how badly you wanted it to work. And that power, that decision to shift, is what really throws him off. Let's keep going. You're about to learn how to respond with silence and strength, the kind that makes him wonder while you're already stepping forward. There's a moment right after he causes pain where everything in you wants to react, to message him, to explain how much he's hurt you, to make him realize what he's lost, because it feels like if you just say the perfect thing, he'll understand, he'll change. But here's the truth. Responding only gives him more control. It shows you're still emotionally invested, and that gives him the upper hand again and again. That's why the strongest and most surprising move you can make isn't loud. It's quiet. It's silence. It's not responding. When you stop reacting, something changes in him. He gets uncertain. He starts to question what's going on. He expected a message, an argument, a breakdown. And when none of that happens, he starts to think, why isn't she upset? Why isn't she texting? Did she move on? That silence isn't empty, it's pressure. It breaks his usual routine because he always knew exactly how you'd respond. Before a man who plays emotional games counts on your reaction, it's how he knows he still has access to your heart, your attention, your energy. And every time you explain yourself, plead, or even try to understand him, you hand over your emotional power while he keeps his guarded. But when you remove yourself from that pattern, when you decide to give him nothing, not your time, not your energy, not your explanation, he feels that shift. And it throws him off, not because you're playing a game, but because you stopped playing. His holding back. Your reaction isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about putting yourself first instead of proving your value to someone who already knows it and still decided to cause harm. It's about guarding your peace, because peace is strength, and nothing throws off someone expecting chaos like quiet confidence. Let him sit in the silence. Let him guess what you're thinking while you've already turned the page. That's how you regain control, not by forcing him to understand, but by closing that door yourself, calmly and with dignity. That silence is powerful. It's filled with self-respect. And maybe he'll try reaching out, maybe he'll send little texts again, just to see if you'll respond. But here's the truth. You don't need that attention anymore, because the version of you that needed his approval, she doesn't exist anymore. She grew the moment she stopped reacting. This doesn't mean you don't feel the pain. It doesn't mean you don't miss the version of him you loved. But now you understand that reacting to pain doesn't fix it. It just keeps it alive. And if you want to fully move on, if you want to really leave him confused, and more importantly, if you want to truly step into your power, you stay quiet, you stay focused. No more long messages, no more trying to convince him you were worth it. Because here's the truth. The minute you stop reacting, you become unpredictable. And being unpredictable is powerful. It forces people to rethink how they treated you. It makes him realize he can't just hurt you and expect to have access to you whenever he wants. That's what makes him confused. That's what makes him feel the consequences. So don't speak, don't chase, don't explain. Let your silence say everything it needs to say. Silence isn't just the absence of noise. When it's intentional, it becomes a message, a wall, a mirror, a truth he can't ignore. And when a man disappears, plays with your feelings, or pulls away, your silence can completely shift the balance. That's what we call the silence flip. A lot of people get it wrong. They think staying silent means you're doing nothing, that you've given up. But what if I told you that silence is actually how you regain control? The silence flip isn't about punishing him. It's about bringing your energy back to yourself. And in doing so, shaking everything he thought he knew about you. When a woman who used to react suddenly doesn't, the effect is strong. It stops him in his tracks because now he's not getting what he's used to. He's not getting the emotional responses, the long texts, the middle of the night calls. All of that is gone. And now he's unsure of where he stands. This kind of silence isn't cold, it's centered, it's built on self-worth. And that's deeply unsettling to someone who thought they had you figured out. The silence flip works because it stirs something powerful inside him. Curiosity. People don't miss what they take for granted. They miss what suddenly becomes unavailable when you stop explaining, when you stop checking in and giving updates. He starts to wonder where you went, why you've changed. Is someone else in the picture? Has she really moved on? And even if he doesn't reach out right away, he feels that shift. And that's what changes everything. You went from someone he thought he could predict to someone he can't read anymore. From someone who was emotionally available to someone who now values emotional protection. You're no longer easy to reach. And that shakes him because now he's not in control anymore. But the real magic of this silence flip is that it's not about him at all. It's about you. It's about protecting your peace, healing without noise, and letting your absence speak for itself. He ignored your presence, but he'll feel your silence. Because staying quiet doesn't make you weak. It shows you've had enough of trying, enough of hoping, enough of giving everything to someone who gave so little. Silence lets you hear yourself again. It's how you stop chasing answers and begin building clarity on your own. It's where your standards rise, your energy shifts, and you remember you never had to prove your value, you just had to know it. And don't be shocked if one day he comes back with messages or calls saying he's been thinking about you. That's not love, that's confusion. That's him noticing your absence, not feeling any real change in his heart. So ask yourself, do you want someone who only realizes your worth when you're gone? Or someone who honors it while you're still here? The silence flip may seem simple, but it takes strength. It takes choosing inner calm over outer chaos. It takes choosing yourself over someone who couldn't see your light until it faded from their view. And self-respect over short-term validation. But once you truly embrace it, something amazing starts to happen. You stop waiting for that message. You no longer need the apology. You stop wondering if he's going to return because suddenly you don't want him to. Not if it takes losing you for him to finally realize your worth. That's the real strength of silence. That's the turning point. And once you reach that point, you'll never go back to begging. There comes a time after all the crying, the confusion, and the endless overthinking when you stop asking, why did he do this to me? And begin to ask, why did I let it happen? That's the moment emotional detachment begins. And that detachment is where your power lies. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're heartless or cold. It simply means you're finally choosing yourself instead of staying stuck in the chaos. It means you're no longer holding on to the outcome, to the false hope, or to the illusion of what could have been. You're finally seeing everything clearly, maybe for the first time. No excuses, no filters, no pretending. When you're emotionally tied to someone who's hurting you, everything they do has the ability to break you. A single word, a moment of silence, a small change in tone, and suddenly your whole mood crashes. That's not love. That's dependence. That's giving someone else full power over your emotional state. But once you detach, you take back that power. You stop staring at your phone. You stop trying to decode mixed messages. You stop making excuses for behavior that doesn't feel right. Why? Because your peace starts to matter more than their attention. That's what emotional detachment really means. Choosing inner peace over pretending a broken connection still means something. When you walk away with your dignity intact, that's real growth. The truth is, once you emotionally detach, you no longer need him to change for you to feel okay. You stop needing answers because you become your own closure. You stop craving apologies because you forgive yourself instead. You stop waiting to be chosen because you finally understand that the power to choose was always yours. And here's where it really confuses him. Because emotional detachment is silent. You don't make a big announcement, you don't make a scene, you don't even need to block him. You simply shift your energy and he can feel it. He might not understand it fully, but he knows something is different. You're just not available anymore. Not emotionally, not mentally, not spiritually. He might test it. He might send a text to see if you'll bite. He might throw out a random compliment. He might act like everything's normal. But this time, you're not reacting. You don't rush to reply. You don't analyze his words. You don't get caught up in old emotions because you're not chasing connection anymore. You're protecting your energy. And that's what detachment gives you. Freedom. The freedom to walk away without needing his approval. The freedom to stop begging for effort. The freedom to stop minimizing your needs just to make him comfortable. That's when your confidence starts to grow. Not the loud, flashy kind, but the quiet kind. The kind that whispers, I know who I am, and I'm not settling. That's the kind of energy that makes him think. That's the energy that makes him wonder how he ever believed he could lose you and still carry on like nothing happened. Getting to that point doesn't happen in a day. Emotional detachment is a journey. You'll slip up, you'll miss him, you'll replay the happy memories, but every time you catch yourself and pull yourself back to reality, that's progress, that's healing, that's strength, and eventually you'll feel it. Peace. The kind of peace that doesn't need closure, attention, or another chance. The kind that comes from knowing you're no longer emotionally tied to someone who never fully saw your worth. So when he finally says, you've changed, just smile. Say nothing, because he's right. You have changed. You're no longer emotionally available for chaos. You're emotionally committed to yourself now, and that is the most powerful kind of shift. What makes you truly unforgettable isn't just your looks. It's not the compliments you get or how many men notice you. It's not your clothes, your body, or your ability to flirt. Real, lasting, powerful attraction comes from something deeper, from how you carry yourself when you fully know your worth. A woman becomes impossible to forget the moment she stops chasing validation and starts choosing herself. The moment she refuses to accept confusion, inconsistency, or emotional games. When you fully step into self-respect, it glows through everything you do. It's in your silence. It's in your boundaries. It's in how calm you stay. It's in the way you no longer follow energy that drains you. Yes, men may be drawn to beauty, but they stay for energy. And the strongest energy you can carry is the one that says, I like you, but I don't need you to approve of me. That kind of detachment, that confidence, that calm presence that quietly says, I'm already whole. Anything extra has to match my peace. That's what makes you unforgettable. You become irresistible the moment you stop trying to be the perfect one for someone who isn't even sure what they want. You become magnetic when you live in truth, when your words, actions, and standards all line up and say, I love myself too much to settle. It's not about playing games or acting distant. It's about making yourself harder to reach because your energy isn't just given away anymore. When a man realizes he doesn't just automatically get access to you, that he has to earn it, respect it, and protect it, you go from being just another option to being the standard. That's when he sees you differently. That's when confusion turns into genuine desire. Not because you chased him, but because you stopped chasing anyone. Irresistibility comes from emotional strength. You're no longer afraid to leave. You're not waiting around for someone to notice your value. You're not stuck hoping for potential. You're grounded in reality. And the truth is, when you start showing up for yourself the way you once showed up for him, everything changes. Your glow becomes undeniable. Your silence becomes powerful. Your presence becomes something rare. And here's the twist. Once you fully step into that space, The ones who once took you for granted start to notice. They always do. But by then you'll realize the real win was never them coming back. The win was you coming back to yourself. Wiser, softer, stronger, and with clearer boundaries. What truly makes you magnetic isn't proving anything to anyone. It's the quiet strength that says, I was ready to give you everything, but now I'm giving it to myself. It's the ability to stay kind and graceful, but never beg, never lower, never dim your light. So if you're wondering how to make him realize what he lost, stop focusing on him. Focus on your own rise. Glow so brightly that he can't ignore your absence. Let your energy speak louder than your words, because when you love yourself the way he should have, with consistency, presence, and respect, you become the kind of woman no one forgets. That's what makes you truly magnetic. If there's one thing Matthew Hussey explains better than most, it's this. Your mindset is your greatest strength. It shapes your standards, your relationships, your boundaries, everything. And the biggest shift you can ever make isn't about becoming more appealing to men. It's about becoming more in tune with your value, whether they're in your life or not. That's the core of Matthew Hussey's message. You don't chase love, you attract it by being fully aligned with your true self. That transformation begins when you stop asking, why doesn't he want me? And start asking, why do I want someone who makes me question my worth? That single shift changes the whole way you show up in dating. Instead of looking outward, analyzing his actions and decoding messages, you turn inward. You ask better questions. Does this situation make me feel safe, respected, and valued? Matthew often says people treat you how you teach them to. And your silence, your limits, your decision to walk away, they all teach. When you accept half effort, you're showing them that's all they need to offer. But when you emotionally detach and raise your standards, people either step up or step away. The power of this mindset is that it gives you the control, not by changing anyone else, but by changing what you accept. You stop trying to fix or convince. You let people show you who they are, and you believe them the first time. You don't rewrite the story. You don't cling to false hope. You trust what's real. That's where peace begins. And the most beautiful part, once you truly embody this mindset, you start attracting people who reflect that same energy. People who are honest, consistent, and present. But that only happens after the internal shift. Not when you learn tricks, not when you memorize responses, but when you live self-worth. When you love yourself enough to say, I want love, but not at the expense of my dignity, everything changes. The Matthew Hussey mindset isn't about pretending to be hard to get. It's about being impossible to forget. Because of how deeply you know and love yourself, because of how rare it is to find someone grounded and unwilling to settle for surface-level connections. It's about understanding that just because someone feels good in the moment doesn't mean they're good for your life. It's knowing that your love, your energy, your time are all investments, not things you hand out freely. It's also about taking responsibility, not blaming every man, not staying stuck in hurt, but asking, how did I lose myself trying to keep him? That's not shame, that's awareness. That's where change begins. Because once you know how you lost your way, you can start choosing better. And when you do, all the confusion goes away. You stop wondering if someone likes you. You start asking, do I even like how I feel around them? You stop hoping they pick you. You choose yourself and let everything else fall into place. That's the shift from needing to having, from chasing to receiving, from seeking love to being love. Not by yelling, not by posting quotes on your story, not by sending a message to it, but by removing your energy completely. That's the true outcome. That's the real wake-up call, and that's when it hits him the most. Because most men who play games, breadcrumb, or vanish without explanation never believe you'll leave for real. They assume you'll pause, cry, maybe pull away for a while, but eventually return. They think the door will always be open, even if it's barely cracked. So when you shut it gently, without drama, without notice, and without begging, that silence becomes unbearable. This isn't about getting even. This is